My name's Patrick. I run the marketing department here at Art Storefronts. And, you guys are all here because you want to grow your art or photography business, right? You guys want to but some of you guys just want to get started, period, sell your first piece. Some of you want to go from hobbyist, which you kind of been because you haven't really focused on your sales, to side hustle, right? Where it's providing some income. Some of you from side hustle to, good paying business, right? Potentially something you could leave your job for. And then some are already full-time artists and want to grow and grow and grow. And many of you had really good revenue sources going on pre-pandemic, and the pandemic came in and cleared a lot of those out, which is a huge bummer. But we'll get into all of that. And who am I? Do I know what the heck I'm talking about? Why do you want to listen to me? So a couple of things. One, I've been doing this for going on 7 years now, specifically how to apply modern marketing, online, offline, digital, non-digital, to how to grow a successful art or photography business. In addition to that, I've been running essentially 3 of these sessions a week, sometimes 5 sessions a week when you include our customers. And, it's not hyperbole to say, I think on a week in, week out basis, I talk to more artists and photographers than just about any human being on the planet. I've heard it all, seen it all, every issue, niche selection, pricing, media types, how to run a sale, how often to run a sale, should I be running sales, discounting, gallery relationships, multiple different styles, every question under the sun, I've answered it. And I've got those 2 skill sets, but in addition, or experiences, but in addition to that, we have 5,700 customers, and I study their data very intently. My whole team does. And I get to see who's selling the most, right? Who's selling the most originals? Who's selling the highest volume of originals? Who's selling the highest price originals? Who's selling the most commissions? Are they doing that as one-offs? Are they doing that as events? Who's selling the most prints? What about canvas prints or metal prints or paper prints? In every variety available. And while all of that is good data, it becomes insanely good data when you marry it to where are they getting the sources of traffic that is generating those sales. Is it coming from their email list? Is it coming from their social posting? Is it coming from their live art shows, or SEO, or Pinterest, or TikTok, or whatever you want to throw into the hat? And you combine all that data, and it sort of gives us an unfair advantage because there are so many charlatans running around out there telling you what to do and what's working and how great this is. And I can call BS on so many of these people solely based on the fact that I have enough customers now to know there are not a lot of artists making money on SEO. How many people are talking about how important SEO is? Artists do not make money. Photographers do not make money, aside from unicorns, aside from the ones on the fringes, on SEO. So guess what? You don't have to waste any of your marketing energy on SEO. So too on Pinterest. Out of my 5,700 customers, I haven't seen a single solitary artist turn an ROI on Pinterest. It's great if you're on Pinterest, and I'm not saying it can't be worth it as an additional marketing channel, but let me tell you, it's primarily a waste of time. So I'm able to make some really interesting value judgments that perhaps other outfits or other people you've heard speak make, and I'm happy to make those. I love being able to tell you some of the things that you need to focus on, that you should be focusing on. Now, agenda for the session today, I'm going to go into a presentation up top, and the presentation is sort of a set of circumstances, a set of premises, a business model, a way to think about how to grow a successful art or photography business. The fundamentals, if you like, that you have to get right if you guys want to take this seriously and start making money from your art or photography. Okay, we have to sort of agree on that. One level below that is our demo process. And the demo process is essentially the test driving the car without the cheesy salesperson. You get the new car smell, you get to see all the bells and whistles, press all the buttons, and it's a Zoom session with someone from our outreach team. It goes like an hour. They find out about you. They tailor the whole presentation to you. And I think with this session and requesting a demo and going through that process, you have all the data you need to decide, is this the right step for me? Is this something that I want to do? But irregardless, is irregardless even a word? Whether you ever become a customer or not, I want this session to be valuable for you. So after the presentation, we're going to open it up into Q&A. You can ask me anything. You can ask about anything that we do at Art Storefronts. You can ask me any marketing questions. You can ask me about anything that you're struggling with, pricing, niche selection. You're navigating a difficult gallery relationship. You're having a live art show. You're doing the show and thayer circuit. And I really want you walking away with some things that you can bolt into your business this weekend and start making an impact. So as the session rolls along, you'll notice there is a chat button at the bottom of your Zoom window. And number one, I can see those, my team can see those. And so if you've got a question and you're like, I want to know about this, all you have to do is just throw the question into the chat. Either my team will answer right away, or after the after the session concludes, we'll go into the Q&A. So we can do both of those things. In addition to that, I'm going to throw a bunch of different links at you as we go along, and we'll throw some of them in the chat, and you can click on them. There's going to be videos and reports and PDFs and all of this, but you don't have to deal with any of that, because what happens after the session ends, we get the video, and we'll put the video on a web page, and then underneath that will be all the links to the things that I make mention to. So you can just feel like, okay, I'm just going to watch this thing, and after the fact, you can go back and click on the various different things that piqued your interest. If you're one of the folks that is watching on the socials, whether that is on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, I see your comments, your questions. Hi, Sean. Hi, Anita. So if you guys got questions as the broadcast rolls along, I can deal with those as well. So on that note, we'll get into the presentation, and I give you, the Art Selling Pyramid, and subtitle is The Path to a Successful Art Business in 2021 and Beyond. And boy, getting this pyramid right is so important. It is so important, and I really genuinely mean this. Whether you ever become a customer or not, this pyramid is fundamentally important, is directly correlated with being a successful artist or photographer in the years to come. And why is it a pyramid? I stole it from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? And, I don't know if you've ever seen this thing or learned about this thing, but you have to sort the bottom blocks before you can sort the top blocks, right? In Maslow's, the bottom one is the physiological needs. We all need to eat. We all need to sleep. We all have to do that every day. Once we've got those two things sorted, you can work on a home and safety and apparently getting fit and money and love and belonging, esteem, self-actualization, all that jazz. So the bottom block of the art selling pyramid is attention. And attention, as it turns out, is the currency of the land that we live in today. Attention is what every single solitary person in this Zoom call needs more of. You need more eyeballs on your art, your photography, if you want to make it and you want to grow the business. And understanding this is so fundamental to having a successful art business. Attention, no different than the bottom block of Maslow's pyramid, is something that the artist or the photographer that wants to get out of the hobbyist zone and seriously grow the business is something that you need to work on every single solitary day. It is that fundamental. It's no different than eating and sleeping. And you do this for long enough, like I have, and you've seen enough art being sold, you realize a painful truth to this industry. Being a success and having a big business is not a meritocracy on how good you are at your craft, at how good you are as a photographer, how good you are as a painter. It is a meritocracy on how good you are in your marketing. First and foremost, fundamentally true. The best art, the best photography does not win. The best art and the best photography that gets seen wins. And so it's just a truth. I mean, it's just a fundamental truth. And I always say this, and I get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. The analogy holds true. But if I was to ask any of you guys right now, if I was to say, Oscar, Veronica, Jim, Anita, Lindy, Ruth, who are some of the most powerful women in the world? How would you respond to that, right? There's a bunch of different ways you could respond to that. How I respond to it is, it's the Kardashian-Jenner sisters. Okay? And why do I bring that up? Because those girls, we can all argue morally, about how they went in obtaining the attention. What we cannot argue is that all of those gals have a $10, $15, $100 million business each, right? One of them just launched a tequila brand, and the thing's already doing $30 million a year. And why do I bring that up? Because they understand the currency of the land is attention. And, to really bring it home, if either or any of those surgically enhanced, well-endowed women decided to become an artist tomorrow or a photographer tomorrow, they would have a $10 million a year business year one, even if they were painting stick figures, even if they were taking out-of-focus shots with their iPhones. And is that fair? No, it's not. No, it's not, right? But it's the truth, because attention is the currency of the land that we live in. Like, they have got it figured out. So it's fundamentally important to understand that. And, you know, I could say it another way in a very pointed fashion. You guys all have a marketing problem. Whether you know it or not, you all have a marketing problem. Many of you do. That's why you're here. And until you fix the marketing problem, the business is going nowhere, okay? It is fundamentally the number one most important thing. And, you know, surprise, surprise, what does no artist or photographer want to do? Every one of you just wants to create and have somebody else handling the marketing and sales. And so you can just be in the studio, or you can be out with the camera and the tripod. And let me tell you, if there's one thing that nobody wants to do, where do you think the highest ROI is, right? It's just fundamental truth. Once we're working on our attention and we understand it daily, the next portion of the pyramid has an outer section and inner section. The outer section is you guys have to understand the business model. And boy, does this one become important, especially stretched out over time. You have to sell direct. You have to sell direct to your customer such that you maintain the information to be able to market to that customer in perpetuity. Hold on, I'm going to grab my book here. Hold on. And really, you have to sell direct such that you can start building a collector list, okay? And a collector list, I would go as far as saying, is either the number one or number two most important metric in a successful art business. It is directly proportional, the size of the health of the collector list, directly proportional to how big the business is doing financially. And I originally got tuned into the sort of like collector concept by this book, Don't Be a Starving Artist. Why would you want to read it? It's by Weiland. Weiland is the whale guy. He's the best-selling artist in the United States. Apparently, it's not even close. This is a very thin book, a very thin read. I think he donates all of the proceeds to charity. I think I've probably sold thousands of copies of this guy's book. It's that good. I should get an affiliate relationship or something. But the link is in the chat. And the way Weiland defines a collector is someone over the course of their lifetime that will purchase in upwards of 8+ pieces of art. 8 at the minimum, could be up to 50, 60, 70 pieces. He keeps creating. Year after year, these people just keep coming back and buying more and more and more. And in the book, he goes into some of the tactical about how he treats these folks. You better believe they're getting a personalized Christmas card. You better believe sometimes they're getting personalized emails. They're getting invited to the special events. He treats them like they're staying at the Four Seasons, okay? And earlier in my career, I was like, ooh, that's a really good idea. That's really interesting. Now, since I've been doing this for as long as I have, I've got to see firsthand how fundamentally important this is. And, you know, I use some simple math, but you come out with a new series. Could be a series of photographs, could be a series of paintings. You're going to release this new series that has 10 pieces in it to the public on a Wednesday. On a Sunday, you email your collector list and you say, patrons, collectors, thank you so much for your continued support. I've got a brand new series coming out. As a result of the support and what you've done for me in the past, I'm going to give you first look at this collection, right? And what you end up seeing is the 10 pieces go to the collectors on Sunday. And it starts small. Maybe 1 out of the 10 pieces gets purchased by the collector, 10%. And it goes as high as 50, 60, 70% in some instances. I don't have anyone at 100%, but sometimes I see it as high as 70. So you're going to release 10 pieces, your brand new collection, to the public on Wednesday, and 7 out of the 10 are gone. And, you know, an interesting way to think about it, and again, I've been doing this for a long time now, artists and photographers are just commission salespeople. That's what you guys are at the end of the day. You're solopreneurs and commission salespeople. If you go out and you work hard and you get your art in front of people and you make sales, you get paid. If you don't do any of that, goose egg. You're not guaranteed any baseline income. You either go out and make those sales and make money, or it's nothing, right? Especially when you're selling direct. You know, gallery relationships and such are different. But what happens when you have a collector list? What happens when you're selling direct and you're building a collector list and you're taking care of the collector list and you're treating them like VIPs? You go from commission salesperson to commission salesperson with a base salary. And that base salary is paid to you and guaranteed to you just for creating and emailing these folks. It's that simple. You get paid a base salary. Starts small. Starts at 10 grand and it goes up to 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, up. And when you contemplate this list is and taking care of this list. And by the way, when you're just getting started, you know your collector list is? It's your email list. You fake it until you make it, okay? You email your entire email list and you say, hey, I'm releasing this thing to the public on Wednesday, and you guys get first crack. Now, you know in your mind that no one's going to see it on Wednesday except for your email list because that's all you have. They don't. They don't know that, right? Maybe there are a bunch of people that are going to see it on a Wednesday. Anyway, so it's a chicken and an egg thing early on, right? But it is so fundamentally important. It is the difference, okay? between an art or a photography business that is recession proof and one that's not. It is the difference between an art and a photography business when all of a sudden the Delta variant locks us all back down and the only thing you can do is not leave your house and sell. The folks that I saw that had these lists and COVID hit, not only did they not lose any steam, they took advantage of one of the biggest art selling times we've seen in history. What happened during COVID? Everybody was locked down and in their house. What happened as a result of that? The home decor market exploded. This is everything from putting a new swimming pool in the backyard to adding on to the house to I am in my home office so much, I'm going to buy a new office chair and a new computer and a new webcam. And guess what went along for the ride? All of those blank white walls, and people were seeing them enough now that they were finally sick enough to do something about it. So you had that on one end, all-time high art sales as a result of home decor. And then on the other side, so I can get my hand in camera, you had all of the available places to buy art shrunk. Retail galleries closed. Show and Fair circuit closed. And so there was this opportunity for the folks that had a collector list, and the ones that did, oh my goodness, what a phenomenal year they had, one of the biggest in the history of their business. So you can't underscore how important this is. And I also bring like the COVID scenario up because many of you for the first time in your lives as you went through COVID realized you didn't control the rules and you weren't holding any of the cards. You had the Show and Fair circuit going, well, that was gone. Done. There was nothing you could do about it. You had a great gallery relationship going on, and now your art is embargoed in a place that no one's going into anymore, right? And so I bring it up to say it is massively a cautionary tale. And when you sell direct and you control your customer info and you're working on your attention daily, you control the rules. You control the rules. You control your distribution channel. You are not reliant on anyone else to sell your art, sell your photography. And I know many of you don't have that figured out yet, but what I know is all of you have decades left of selling your art, your photography, your creations. If you get this right now and you start working at it correctly now, what happens is year after year after year after year, it continues to build and continues to get better. So I'll touch on that more in a second. Once we're working on our attention, once we are focused on the business model and building our collector list, there are only 3 ways to sell art, okay? Only three. And the best way, you guys all know this, trick question, in person, face-to-face. That has always been the best way to sell art. It always will be the best way to sell art. Problem, though, all of us are geographically fixed on this planet, right? Can't be in multiple places at once, and we have to eat, we have to sleep, and we can't have 15 conversations at once. So yes, of course, we need to have a website, right? The website solves for all those solutions. It works when you sleep. It can have 50 people on it at once and still do effective selling. The third way, though, the newest way, okay? The way the entire art selling world is trying to figure out right now at once, as well as a bunch of other worlds, is exactly what we're doing right now. It is via live video. And the via live video, happens in 2 ways. One-to-one, one-to-many. Let's talk about one-to-one first. Let's say I follow Oscar, and I look on his Instagram, and I was like, oh, man, that's a cool piece. So I send Oscar a direct message, and I'm like, Oscar, I'm interested in your piece. I just remodeled my bathroom. I was hoping we could jump on a video call and talk about it. And Oscar goes, no problem, Patrick. Here's the Zoom link. We schedule it. I jump into a Zoom with Oscar. He is showing me his pieces, right? And he is talking about them, and he is merchandising them, and I'm getting to know him, and I'm telling him how cool his porch is. And I thought there was a lake behind you, by the way. I realize it's not a lake now because I saw a car driving down it. But anyway, that type of selling where someone that is interested in your work get together in a video chat. They get to know you. They get bonded to you, right? Like, his dog comes running in. I'm like, I have a dog. We realize we both love dogs. It is just so powerful, and so few artists are doing it. But the other way, the really interesting way, is the one-to-many, okay? And the one-to-many is this concept of a live art show, okay? And I'm going to show you a couple. And, one of the things that I get to do as a marketer is I get to come up with new ideas to sell art and whatever it is, and then test them immediately with my customers. And so this guy, Matthew Laka, he's a painter from Quebec, lives in Laval, and really talented. And during the height of COVID, so this one was on June 9th, 2020, so a little bit over a year ago, we started running a live art show. And it's essentially him. This is his garage studio where he does his painting, and he's holding up some pieces, and he's streaming live to the socials, and people are able to ask questions in real time, and he's showing off some older works. This guy, in 2 sales. And so this one, that was the first one. This is the other one. So this one was done in May. So May 22nd and June, whatever the other one was. 15, I think it was like 15 days between them. He sold, okay, directly from his garage basement in Laval, Quebec, Canada. He sold 62 pieces for a little bit over $30,000 Canadian. Okay. And we saw those results and we're like, wow, that is incredible, right? Like one of the things that I do fundamentally is I look at the artists that are making tremendous amounts of sales. For someone to run a sale for no reason other than just to do it and to be able to generate those types of results, I was like, that is insane. I got to see if I can duplicate it. So since then, we are pretty much the pioneers in the concept of the live art show. There's no one that has as much experience on as us in point of there. It's not even close, at least in terms of selling art or photography. And so this particular painter is, her name's Meg Knappenberger. She's Kansas City artist, and she was moving from one studio to another studio. And she had a bunch of smaller pieces and, like you can see, sketchbook stuff and color studies and the like. And we ran a live art show with her. And in her case, she had, oh, and this is rad about the collector list. She had 82 pieces in this sale, okay? And the live art show ran on a Wednesday. She emailed her collector list on a Sunday. The collector list bought 46% of the show before it even started. 46% of the show gone instantaneously. So underscores how important that collector list is. But in her case, they were smaller pieces. They were cheaper. So I think she sold somewhere close to 70 of the 80 pieces for a little bit over $12,000 US. Since then, we've literally run hundreds of these. I mean, every type of artist, every type of niche, every part geographically of the country, photographers, artists, people that were just getting started, people that were picking up steam. And what do you notice about these guys? They all look just like you. There's no fancy lighting. There's no fancy microphones. There are some fancy white gloves in this one, right? But the point is that anyone can do this from anywhere, reach a huge audience. Yes, there's some tradecraft and there's some stuff that goes along with it, but it is just an extremely, extremely effective way to sell art and photography. I would go as far to say it is absolutely the future because of how effective it is. I have not seen in my entire career anything come even close to being as effective as these live art shows are. There's just not anything even close. And okay, great. You get a data point from me, right? And you can be cynical about it. Great. This is the service you're pitching. This doesn't make any sense to me. So let's take it up market a little bit, right? Your industry is not one that has a ton of reports. This one is called the Art Market Report, and it's put out by Art Basel and UBS Global on a yearly basis. Now, in terms of a disclaimer, when I say up market, these guys really only, they only survey the top 5% of artists in the world. So figure, making well over $100,000 a year, up to several millions. But what's interesting is they've got, so I'm going to send you a link to this too. I totally think you should read the report. You click on this key findings section, and they have like fancy little graphs, and they make it kind of visual. It's a little bit easier to read than the PDF. But listen to this as I quote. Chapter 5 looks at the online art market in the rapid evolution in sales in 2021. The chapter shows how the dealer sector shifted sales online in 2020 in the development of online viewing rooms, OVRs. And it goes on to talk about how much art was moved by the dealer segment via OVRs. You know what an OVR is? It is a snooty way of saying a Zoom call. It's just a Zoom call. That's it. The dealer or the artist representative, or in some cases the artist on one side of the Zoom, on the other side of the Zoom is the high net worth individual. And they're talking about the art, they're merchandising the art, the collectors are able to make their offers, and they get the transaction done. So my point in the live art shows is it doesn't matter if you are just getting started, you've never sold anything, or you're at the very top of the chain. Everyone is trying to figure out the tradecraft for this all at once. And there are so many interesting little iterations of it, and you never figure out what the iterations are until you start shipping and you start learning. For instance, I'll give you guys a little pro tip, and let me just click on, why did it do that little, there it is. So if I play this one, and this one's recent, this was April 16th, not that long ago. What do you notice about this one? Same guy. Quality is terrible. You want to know why the quality is terrible? His significant other is upstairs streaming Netflix when the show is going on. So don't do that. Okay, don't do that. No one's got a fast enough internet connection to do that. So no Netflix streaming when you run your live art show. But I also love showing in his case, just to kind of give you like the full Monty on this, is he also had a show in the middle of COVID, a gallery show. It was already booked, and they were going to let him go through with it. Now, it was social distancing and masks and the whole thing, and no one could travel. So obviously he wasn't going to get the full pop of attendance. But what did we do? We're like, okay, no worries. Run the show. Next day, let's live stream it to everyone that couldn't come to the show. And so this is a real gallery show in a real gallery, which sucks, by the way, because he doesn't keep his customer information, and 50-50 split. But anyway, 50-50 split on revenue. He walked through the show, glass of wine, and people could ask questions, and he was showing off the work, and it was like you were in the show with him, and you could see which paintings had the red dots on them, and you could see the quality of the work, and he talked about it. And so you look at the abstractions of what this live art show, live video selling looks like, and I mean, it's almost like you're exactly in the gallery with him. And guess what happened? A bunch of additional pieces that he did not sell at the first night ended up selling, the opening night ended up selling as a result of this live art show and being able to send it to everybody after the fact. So, you know, this is one of the areas that we're investing in so heavy, I can't even begin to tell you. And you learn all these various different things when you run these, right? And I could go through that. We have so much tradecraft on this already, but I want to show you sort of one of our newest features, which I'm really proud about, is you run enough of these and you realize various things. One, you have to have a page to send them to. Two, you know, because you've got people watching on YouTube, and you've got people watching on Instagram, and you've got people that are watching it after the fact, and it's like, okay, well, where are you going to send them to buy the art, right? And you need to be able to take payment. Like, yeah, you can say, oh yeah, I'll take PayPal or I'll take Venmo. That's all well and good, but it helps to have all the stuff up on a site. So this is version 1 of our live art show page, and I can't begin to tell you how easy I made this. You grab one folder of images. I don't care if you took photos of the things with your iPhone. Doesn't matter. Do you see how small these are? And you drop all the images of the stuff that you're going to sell in one little bucket. It automatically makes this grid. You title it. You price it. If that's all you want to do, fine. You can put the sizes like you see. You can put the descriptions. And this is the entire show. And this entire page took less than 45 minutes to create. And he was ready to go, ready to take payment. After the fact, you throw the link to the live show on the top, and you have something that you can market for a while. And what's cool is that because it's a live art show, you know, it's not like you're sending them to a regular page experience where they have 15 options on things that they can buy. They can come right in on this live art show. This is like one of the things that you learn too. How do you solve for 2 people wanting the same thing at the same time, right? And so when you click on these little buy now buttons, I've got this little instant checkout thing right on the side. You can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever you want, and boom. If I was to pay now, instantaneously the red would go to sold, and you know it's sold. And this guy is like a mega talented rock photographer. He had never done one of these things before in his life, okay? We helped him do it. We helped him get it over the line. He has a decent social following, not massive, like 5,000 people on Facebook, 5,000 people on Instagram. And just look, like 240 sold, 240 sold, 85 sold, 140 sold, 168 sold, 240 sold, 78 sold, 142, 240, 95, 240, 110, 133, 115. And this was in his first show. He'd never run one of these things before in his life. And he told me he sold a couple of pieces offline. And so it's just so profoundly effective, this particular method of selling art and photography. And my guess is, if I asked you guys for a show of hands, how many of you run a live art show, I'm not going to see a lot of hands because people are just becoming aware of it now, right? And it's one of the things that we are doing more so than anything else is becoming pioneers at this and trying to understand the tradecraft. And to finish it, okay, next week I'm launching the biggest contest we've ever run at Art Storefronts. And you know how you enter? Run a live art show and send it to me. Run a live art show next week, send it to me. You're entered to win. And I'm not telling you what the prizes are, but they're huge. So something to look forward to for next week. I'm going to tease it. I'm going to give you a guide on how to get started. And if you're on the email list, you'll see it. If you're on our social sites, you'll see it. Done with the tease, on with the show. So top of the pyramid is everything else, meaning if any of you guys out there have a gallery relationship that is still paying you money, fantastic. Keep that going. I love revenue sources, but it's got to be in addition to working on your attention, and in addition to the business model and building the collector list, and in addition to the 3 ways of selling art. So too, if you've got online galleries, I would never know what direction to point. So too, if you've got online galleries, or if you're doing the show and therapy circuit, or literally anything else, okay? Anything else. That's the pyramid. And if you get this right, regardless if you host with us or you run your own business, I don't care. You get this right, and then you chalk in a little thing called perspective, you will win. Okay. What is the perspective? I have been running hundreds of these. Okay. Week in, week out. Do you know what happens? I'm talking to artists, to photographers in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 80s, and I occasionally get people in their 90s. What I have come to learn is you creative types don't go through midlife crises. Not anyway, the kind that all of a sudden you're going to change what you're going to do. You're creators. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. You're going to be creating. If you want to be selling these things and not be a hobbyist, have the perspective of how long it takes to get things right. But if you do, how important it is or how rewarding it will be. Many of you, okay, on this call, and again, a generalization, but probably not far off, had you understood that business model from the minute that you started selling, had you built a collector list, had you been marketing regularly, your careers would be in significantly different places than they are right now, because you sold a ton of art over your life, but you didn't keep up with those people that bought it, or you didn't know who the heck those people were that bought it, and you've never marketed consistently in your entire life. So I find that the perspective thing is so doggone important. And like, look at the landscape out there in today's day and age, or over the last couple of years. What does every artist and photographer do? They do a couple of things. One, they think that there's some sort of website where they can just magically upload their images, and all of a sudden fish are going to jump in their boat, and they're not going to have to do any work, right? I know a bunch of you have done this. You've done a pretty portfolio site, right? Or you've tried out a couple of the marketplaces, and how's any of that worked for you? It hasn't, right? It hasn't worked in the slightest. Number two, artists and photographers in marketing is like everybody with New Year's resolution and gym memberships. What happens is, because you don't have the right perspective, this is going to be my year. I'm going to start it off. It's going to be incredible. I'm going to go with a bang. And just like the gym membership, come February 15th, when it starts getting a little cold outside, everyone stops going to the gym, right? And you're right back to where you were. That's how artists and photographers approach their marketing. You don't ever do it consistently. And many of you guys have never done it consistently because no one's ever told you, you have to do this for a couple of years to get some steam and really get going. And let me tell you, for most of you, let's say you signed up, let me just put all my cards on the table. The first year sucks. It totally sucks. You're going to be pulling your hair out of your head, okay? I have to teach you how to capture emails. I have to teach you how to email those emails. I have to teach you how to post on the socials. I have to teach you how to run a live art show. I have to teach you how to run a sale period. I have to teach you what's called omni-channel marketing, where all of those channels work together to get your message out. And the first year sucks for a lot of people, right? One, you've never marketed consistently in your life. Two, most of you guys are not super tech savvy, so there's a lot to learn there. But when you understand the perspective and you understand the pyramid and the fact that the business will actually grow and you will be on the path towards something that is like real, right, and substantive and actually growing year over year, it fundamentally changes everything. It just fundamentally changes everything. So understanding that pyramid is the difference between going into a fight with one arm tied behind your back or not. Like, I don't know how you win as an artist or a photographer if you don't have that set up correctly, because it's the only way that you control things. It's the only way that whatever pandemic, this, that, or the other comes down the pike, it doesn't matter. You're in control of your own destiny. So fundamentally important. So fundamentally important. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. At this point, we'll open it up to Q&A. And if you're one of the brave ones, how's Q&A work? If you're one of the brave ones, okay, with your camera on and you have a question, all you got to do is raise your hand. Myself, my team will see that. We'll unmute you, bring you in. You can ask whatever question you want. But for everyone else, there is a way to digitally raise your hand, okay? And so there is a reactions bar at the bottom of your Zoom call, and you click on it, and there's a way to digitally raise your hand. You can see that I've done it. And that kind of gives me a cue, and it lets me know you have questions, and you can do what you want. Do what you want that way. If you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to turn your camera on, okay? I totally hate being on video. I totally get that. Although you all have to run a live art show immediately, so get over it. And then if you want to throw your questions in the chat, you can do that too. And then also too, of course, on the socials, I see those, and I can answer those, no problem, right? Like, what is Leslie saying here? And what's up, Leslie? I know you've been hanging out on a bunch of things. So if you're going to announce your post to 10 paintings on a Wednesday, I email my list and give them the first look. They buy all 10 pieces. Then what? Then you're going to go out and celebrate, right? I'd probably have a couple of cold beers, but whatever you like to do, because that's winning. That is winning, right? And let me tell you, do you think FOMO is real for an artist? Okay. Do you know what I mean when I say FOMO? FOMO is fear of missing out, okay? Fear of missing out. And there is a reason, okay, when you go into a gallery show like the one I showed earlier with my buddy, they put those little red dots next to the pieces that have sold. They want to telegraph that this is an artist on the up and up, right? And so when you release those 10 pieces and 7 out of 10, 8 out of the 10 of them were already sold, like, oh my gosh, it's so effective. People go nuts. But all right, Oscar, I'm gonna have you go first. You'll have to unmute. Your mic's in the bottom left-hand corner. Yep, gotcha.
I have noticed that that I can create different variations of the same painting
Okay.
by working on my computer and then taking them to a place that'll print them on steel.
Okay.
It opens up so many different opportunities for making work
Mm-hmm.
that it's almost like I'm backed up with too much work.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to evaluate it because it's so easy to do that it isn't like actually creating, it's more like manipulating, recreating.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the market for that is at all,
Yeah.
or
Well,
whether it's worth pursuing.
that's the good news. No one does, and no one can tell you. The only thing they can tell you is the almighty dollar, is the almighty credit card coming out of the almighty wallet, right? And I get so many variations of this like all the time, and this is just one of the things that you learn after doing this for enough time is, well, can you guys just check out my work and tell me if you think it'll sell? I can't tell you if it'll sell. No one can tell you if it'll sell. The only ones that can tell you that it sells is strangers pulling the cash out of their wallet and buying it, right? So I think the fact that you've got that going on is fantastic. You got to just start trying to sell it, right? You have to get it out there. You have to get it on the market. And I see your hand, Lindy. I'll get you next. Just as a quick aside, and I can't even believe I'm bringing this up because it's embarrassing because I get so many questions about it and I hate it. But many of you guys have heard about NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, the blockchain market, and everything that's going on there, right? Do you know what one of the best sellers in the NFT market is? Algorithmically generated art. So a programmer writes a line of code, right, that manipulates these 7 different variables, just to keep it simple. Let's say 10 different variables in a weird way, and that creates the piece of art. So what happens is that when you go and purchase the transaction, your data plus the date feeds the system the variables, and the algorithm spits out a piece of artwork. And like a lot of people are selling through the 10,000, and the thing is completely algorithmically driven. So Oscar, to your earlier point, like variations on the same thing, like there's evidence that there's a market for it, but you're never going to know until you get it out there.
Okay.
You got to try to sell it. And if you've never tried to sell it before, the easiest way to do that is any which way you could do it that's in person, right? Like, the show and their circuit is great. A farmer's market is great. You're on a busy street corner right there behind you. I would set up a table right now until somebody comes and yells at you, right? Like, it doesn't matter how you do it. Or in the digital context, a live art show is great. And you can be like, hey, guys, I'm launching my art business right now. Just curious to see if anyone's interested in these pieces. Show them. Say, make me an offer. See what happens, right? But the point is that you have to take some positive steps. You can't sit there and ruminate on, is it going to sell or is it not going to sell? You'll never know until you try.
If I can follow up,
Please.
um, I don't have to actually make the art until after I've sold it.
100%.
You know what? Do you understand what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if someone
Yeah.
says they like it, then I go to the printer and have it,
Yeah. Yeah.
done up on steel.
Well, no.
So
If somebody says they like it, you say, wonderful, I'm taking deposits now. Get that deposit, then go down and create it. But yes, I'm on board.
okay, so like I could take my website and put in any given day 200 or 300 variations on the works that I've done, and all I'm feeling like is that I'm clogging up myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing too much without the red dot. So I don't think that's a good idea.
Today's problems for today, tomorrow's problems for tomorrow. You're contemplating a bunch of what ifs that might exist and might not, but you'll never know until you start selling. 200 could be fine. 200 could be too many, right? 5 could be the sweet spot number of 50. You'll never know until you try, right? Like you have a bunch of conjecture until you try. That's it. You'll just absolutely never know.
So you say between 5 and 50.
No, you're asking. Yeah, but you're asking for a magic number, and I can't give you one because I don't. I couldn't tell you, right? And anyone that does tell you is completely, utterly, totally, and full of shit. It's not the way that it works. The only thing that can tell you is the market, right? And again, like I'm constantly going back to my data, right? Like I look and I see the data on all the people that are selling, and you know who they are by and large, the people that are out there selling, right? That are out there finding out, like, and I get so many different variations of this question. Well, I'm a photographer and I'm also an artist, and I'll just get started when I figure out which niche I want to go with. How the hell you know what niche you want to go with? Yeah, you could pick one arbitrarily, but you throw all that stuff on a website, you market for a year, you see what's sold, and then you make the call. It might be a smattering of everything. It might be all your photography. Then you can make a decision, but make the decision after you've gotten some actual feedback, right? Let me give it to you this way, Oscar. You and I are both chefs, and we both want to have a restaurant. It's been a lifelong dream, right? And so I'm not intelligent. I'm overthinking and overanalyzing things, and I'm freaking really getting stuck on the what ifs. And so you know what I do? I spend 6 months writing the business plan. And then I take the business plan down to the bank, and I hammer it out with my small banker, and I get a loan. Then I search around town, and I find a space. Then I give the thing a name, and then I get a sign, and then I hire a maitre d', and then I design the menus and the tablecloths and hire the kitchen staff, and then I open the doors. And do you know what I find out? Nobody wants my food because it's not good. Do you know what you did? While I was on page 1 of my business plan, okay, I hadn't even opened up my computer yet, you went down to Costco and you got a cart, a rolling cart, and you made your tacos, let's just say, and you put your tacos on that cart and you pushed them into a downstairs office building, and you're like, Oscar's Tacos, who's hungry, right? And you found out that you had a line out the door after 2 days. Well, now you know your product sells. And you figured that out how quickly? In 48 hours. Meanwhile, I'm on page 7 of my business plan, right? Years and thousands of dollars away from not knowing what the damn feedback was because I didn't go to market with my product and you did. And let's just put another spin on it. Let's say you went down to that office building with your tacos and people were like, thanks for lunch, Oscar, but just admittedly that wasn't that good. I'm not coming back tomorrow. And then you're like, no worries, I can do burgers too. And so the next day you did your burgers and you pushed your cart in and it's like, oh my God, everyone loves these burgers. Now I've got Oscar's Burgers, right? So that's how it goes. And just to put the finer point on it, you don't hear these stories all that often, and I get to tell them. When Pablo Picasso died, he had 45,000 pieces of unsold art in his inventory. At the tail end of that guy's career, he could have signed a diaper and it would have sold. How did he have 45,000 pieces of art? He had 45,000 pieces of art because that guy was taking shots all the time. And some of them were home runs, and those were his biggest stuff, and that all sold. And some of them were duds. Did you think it let him stop him? No. He kept hammering and figuring it out and figuring it out and figuring it out. And, he knew. And like one of the things that he said, one of his quotes, someone was asking him for advice how to get started. He's like, early on, my drawings did not command a high price, but they all sold. The art has to get out into the world, right? And that's how you level up your prices. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
A roundabout long rant that just says, get selling, Oscar, get selling. We can help you, and whatever it takes to get it going, right? Like, do not wait. Get going on the selling. You'll never know until you know. All right, Lindy, you're up next.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, so I'm a hobbyist that started in 2019. I did art for therapy because my father had Alzheimer's, whatever.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
And thank you. It's actually made me who I am, so it's all good. My husband and I kind of, during that time period, got together because I like to paint, and these are Petoskey stones. It's a unique Michigan thing. And he and I formed this thing, Michigan Petoskey Force. We have a website. We have Instagram. But I certainly didn't maintain it, especially after my father passed and then COVID happened and kind of was crazy. So I have this really complete website that visually looks good,
but it's not selling anything. I know.
No, and I'm super. I get stressed the second I try to get into the website and do anything with it.
I know.
So does that website continue to exist with your business and you merge them? Or
the question you always have to ask yourself is my website selling a bunch of art for me? If the answer is no, you get rid of it and you move to ours. And that's the long and the short of it. But even before that, and it sort of alluded to this in a lot of the earlier remarks, everyone out there thinks they have a website problem. But if I was the genie and I came out of the lamp right now, Lindy, and I picked up your business and moved it anywhere for free, I'll do it in 2 seconds. I don't care what site you want. You name any site, ours, anyone else's. What will happen to your business as a result of that? Nothing. Nothing will fundamentally change because you don't have a website problem. You have a marketing problem, right? Okay. Until you fix the real problem, there's not going to be any income. And that's just the bottom line of it.
Because that's the other thing that's relatively new. The income is, of course, I mean, I'm a human. I want my art to be liked and I want to make money, but I'm financially okay. This is something I'm doing because it gives me joy.
Yes.
But it also gives me joy to not have it start cluttering up my house.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and I'd like people to hopefully enjoy it. So kind of what you're saying is my existing website disappears, and I essentially through your program would
so you
set
just
up a website and be able to link everything.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just keep it simple and say that the website right now is lindy.com, and it's pointed at whoever you have that website with. You would just point it at the Art Storefronts one, and lindy.com wouldn't change. So you wouldn't have to change anything.
The links on my Instagram would become the Art Storefront link and whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
You would know. None of them would even change because your same address would just be the same address. Like the way that it works is the URL, the things people type in the browser, you can point that wherever you want. So instead of pointing it at your current website, you point it at the Art Storefronts website.
Okay, so and you'd be able to help with some of those technical.
Oh yeah. We have.
I mean, it sounds like that's the whole point of this, because I'm not technically stupid, but I'm not technically smart. I'm somewhere right in the middle.
I'm right in the middle, and I'm a huge tech nerd, and that whole URL pointing thing still annoys the hell out of me. But
I get super frustrated, and then that's when then I'm like, well, screw this, I'll just paint for fun.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, no, but I want to do this because like you said, I want to be doing it till like the day before I die.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And
why not?
And that's like sort of like the differentiating factor, right? Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a hobbyist, right? For a lot of people, it's, it's how they relax, it's how they unwind, it's how they scratch their creative itches, for lack of a better term, and that's totally cool. But if you actually want to build a business out of it, then it takes some sacrifice. You're gonna have to work on your marketing. It doesn't happen overnight, but that's what we teach you to do all year long.
Yeah.
Never stop.
Okay. I mean, that all sounds wonderful. I just, I think I just, like many of us, need my hand held a little bit.
Yeah.
I have the patience. I don't feel any, it has to sell tomorrow, but I don't know where to start. And that's why
that's why we
appeal to me.
Yeah.
And the idea that everything kind of is in one location, I think is, am I getting that right?
Yeah. I mean, you have to get a demo to see all like the finer points and all the bells and whistles. But what I can tell you conceptually is just, you get the website up. It'll take you 14 days or less to launch the website. It's that simple. And then once that's done, you don't even have to look at the website again until the end of the year, straight up, because I'm going to have you learning so much different marketing stuff that you're going to do. But I like, practically speaking, that you've got two bites at the apple between you and your husband, right? And one site and all of it under one roof, which makes all of the marketing more simplistic. And then also you appeal to two different audiences. So I like the husband and wife / we see families sometimes, like mom and daughters and that kind of thing sometimes too, which is cool. But yeah, I like that.
Well, the problem, and so that's the other, I guess, aspect of this that I guess I should ask. So, I'm obviously, I paint. He works in stone and makes jewelry and figurines and stuff like that. So he would be able to, his pieces would be able to be on this?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The whole site is custom tailored towards selling wall art. There's no question about that. But it's also just an e-commerce shopping cart, right? So you can put anything in there. Like we have people that sell a ton of classes on how to paint and how to photograph, right? We have people that sell books. We have people that sell all kinds of different merch. You can sell whatever you want. But the larger point is there's no reason that you can't have both of those things on one store, right? Like Walmart sells everything under the sun, right? They're doing just fine. So you can have those two items in the store. You guys have one shared last name. You're married, which is important because if one person is doing all the marketing and the other one isn't, it's not going to turn into World War III because it's just, you're married, right? You compromise on it however you compromise.
And happily at this point.
Yeah.
Who knows what a business will do to it, but.
Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, you have to make the commitment. You have to do the work. But in terms of like the hand holding, no joke, we're amazing on that. Request a demo, and we'll like have the guys to walk you through it all, and just ask them specifically like, here's the things that I'm challenged on. Show me how your product's going to help me with that, and then they'll go into customized detail for you on it.
Yep, and that's kind of the next step after this live discussion is signing up for a demo or not if someone's not interested or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about the demo is like they'll find out a little bit about you, and then they show you. It's like an hour Zoom call that goes through the entire thing and shows all the bells, all the whistles, all the features. Again, depending on who you are, there's so much in our product that it can be overwhelming. And, you know, why we don't just run a demo on this, because there's 15 different people with 15 different problems on this thing. And so it wouldn't make sense. It's different for a photographer or an artist. Like, what are you planning on selling? Are you doing prints? Are you doing originals? Are you doing commissions? Are you doing multiple different products? Like, how do you want to look at the whole thing? But after it's done, between the pyramid, which I showed at the beginning, which is critically important, and then the software, after you see a demo, you can decide, is this something I want or is this not something I want? And, you know, they're not pushy people. So if you say, like, look, that was cool, don't ever call me again, they won't ever call you again. So don't worry about that.
Could it also be, that was cool, call me in 3 months?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
I mean.
Yeah, of course. Any of the above.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So it's easy. Yeah. Thank you, Lindy.
That's, I think, pretty much everything. Thanks.
All right. So Oscar is asking, I assume that you would recommend that I put prices on my website and provide a click to sale option. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. You know, there's a lot of debate. It's like a hot button item, the whole, like, do I list pricing? Do I not list pricing? And I think you do list pricing. And even, you know, that study that I was showing you earlier, would I be able to find it? No, I'm not teed up to find it in 2 seconds, but, you know, not this one. And again, I'm sending you this so you can look at it later. But they did a study in which they, is it on this page? Ah, boom. How often does that ever work out like that? It never does. So this is section number 4. And so they say 90% of HNW's high net worth collectors visited an art fair or a gallery or OVR Zoom call. And 72% felt it was important or essential to have the price posted when they were browsing works of art for sale online. So is that gospel? No, but that's a survey and it's a data point, right? And it sort of squares with, you know, what I think. And I think you need to list prices, right? I think, you know, people need to understand what they are and it's important. And by the way, do you have any idea how hypocritical that is? We don't have any pricing on our website at Art Storefronts at all. You can't make fun of yourselves. You know, what can you do? But for software, it's not the same as art, so it's a little bit different. That's what I would say. Okay, Liz Graham, you're up next. And then Philip, I see your question too.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Hi. So I just had a question based off of kind of what you were talking about with Lindy, and you kind of mentioned it with Oscar about, so I'm a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what people know me to do, but
Mm-hmm.
I also paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't shown my paint work in a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like have stuff that I'd like to get rid of, you know, clutter, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said, you know, to really know what sells is to put it all out there.
Yes.
How, you know, as far as marketing, is that going to get confusing?
No, changes nothing.
Customers?
Changes nothing. So this is one of the things when you realize when you've done this for a while is that artists and photographers, their minds default to the fact that my brand is whatever I create, right? And so you're thinking in your mind, my brand is, you know, the photography. I'm known as a photographer. And so if I start throwing this painting stuff in there, how is that going to work? But what you miss, the subtlety in all of it is, do you know what's the most important part of the brand? Liz Graham is.
Yeah.
Who you are, what makes you tick, what you're into. And quite frankly, the majority of the time what we find is people could care less what it is. It can be anything. Like once they like you and they get bought into you and they get bought into your creative vision and they like what you're sharing, they like what you're doing, they like what you're photographing, you know, your photograph customers will end up buying your fine art. Your fine art customers will end up hiring you to do shoots, right? Like that's just how it works. You are 100% the brand.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does the photography have a service portion of the business, or is it all fine art photography?
It's like landscape. I do a lot of sunsets, a lot of like full moon photography right now, like national park stuff.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, my painting is a lot different. So
Yeah, it's all good.
It's kind of hard to mesh. Yeah.
It's all good. Remember, you're the brand.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Okay, Philip, go ahead.
Yes.
What's your question, Philip?
Yes. As an artist, I decided to draw portraits of celebrities based on their birthdays and the day of their deaths. And next week is the anniversary of Robin Williams' death. And if I I'm going to post it on Facebook and my other social media sites, and it should raise enough traffic for people. And also, I could tell a little story about them, like some information.
I think that's a great idea. You'll never know if that
And
works until you test it, right? So test it.
and 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 also, as a cartoonist, I could introduce my cartoon. Do I could introduce my cartoons and tell a little backstory about them
You you
and
t-
how they became.
you totally could.
But also, someone gave me an advice on how I can do I can make it look like I'm doing a interview with them on social media. But
Yeah, Philip, you 100% can. I think it's an interesting idea. I think it's
and,
interesting for a
and
number of different reasons, and it's like anything else, right? Like, I know you've been on these calls before, and you come up with a great number of ideas, and I think you got to just put them in the water and see what happens, right? Like, on Robin Williams' death, I was a huge Robin Williams fan. I saw him live. That guy was absolutely hilarious. I think you should just post that on the socials and see how you do.
and also I could also what you said about going live. I could maybe talk about myself as an artist and show some of my art I've done in college and what I'm doing right now. That
Yeah,
way, people will get more interested in me.
yeah.
And and by the way, on this summer, I did get a DM message when I was learning from Karen Collegian. She said that I need to nourish and educate my audience by showing them steps of my work.
I think that's a great idea.
And
I'm on board with that.
also with that
Okay.
on Instagram one time on Instagram one time someone wanted me to private message them on Instagram.
Boom, Philip. That's how it starts. And I love that you keep attending and you keep coming up with the ideas, Philip. I'm confident that if you stick to your marketing, you're gonna get there. You're on the path, my friend. Okay, Tammy, you're up next. Gotcha. Uh-oh. It looks like you're unmuted, Tammy, and I can't hear you though, which tells me that you probably have the wrong mic selected. And so the way that this works is that little microphone icon that you hit in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a little up arrow just right to the right of it. If you click that, it's going to say select microphone. I would just look at that list and see if there's a different one that you can pick. Sometimes computers have multiple, and that's usually what happens. And I'll leave you unmuted, and hopefully you'll get it. If you do, just sort of start talking, but that's what I would do. As robust as Zoom is, a lot of times we get through these tech support sessions, which is awesome, meaning they end up figuring it out in the end of the day. So Michelle's asking, can you watch these through the ASF platform? Yeah, Michelle, so you're a customer. These sessions really are just for non-customers. You get access to a whole bunch of different ones internally, but you can certainly watch some of them. These ones are like, really just for non-customers. They're webinars, but there's a bunch of other ones. And yeah, Leslie's right. You can definitely recommend you subscribe to the podcast. There's a ton of good stuff that goes down on the podcast, and it's an easy, passive way to listen. And it's totally free, which is awesome. But yeah, good session today, guys. Any other questions? Comments, ideas, struggles, any of the above? Happy to answer. It's most easiest to pick on the ones. Oh, Tammy, now I can see you. So do you know what I would do? You know what I would do, Tammy, sometimes is, and I'll get you next, Ruth, kill Zoom, just end the session, and then go right back to the original link that you got in with and try to come back on. Sometimes that really works, Tammy, just the restart, right? The restart that solves 90% of the tech issues out there. Okay, so she's doing that. Just because your cameras are on, I got to pick with you. Jim Resnick, questions? Ruth, questions? Veronica? Something on a Friday? I feel like Jim's got one. I'm ambushing Jim. Jim's like, doggone it, I didn't have a question, but fine. If you want, Jim, I unmuted you. You can hit it and do what you like.
No, I'm going to check into it. I'm eventually going to be retiring from being a realtor. I've been an artist for 30 years, and I'm going to start really focusing on
giving
my artwork
awesome
full time. So I'm going to look into what you do.
Awesome. Well, huge congrats on the retirement, by the way. That's got to be exciting.
I still got a couple years, but
Yeah.
I'm going to ease into it. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to sell more artwork. I'm, doing online contests, and I've been,
Mhm.
winning awards and that type of thing. But I'm not selling any artwork. So
Yeah. Two ways I'm going to respond to you. One, the winning awards. If I pick you up, Jim, and we look at a house on the way to the ATM machine in your town, where's the button on the ATM machine for I win a bunch of awards, right? Yeah, it doesn't exist. But you know what else you can do that you have sort of, I love that everyone's kind of got their own advantages that they have, right? That are going to help them sell their art of photography. So if I'm you and I get a new listing, and the new listing looks like the walls could be sexed up a little bit, I'm going to stage it with all of my pieces and let people know. You never know what happens. Sometimes they want to buy the house fully furnished, right? Sometimes they will maybe potentially make an offer on some of the art, right? Like, if you've got a house that is looking a little bit, blah or boring, why wouldn't you throw your art on the walls in the house? It's only going to help it sell, right? Something you could think about.
somebody else said that once, but no, I've never done that.
You should do it. It's a big deal. Staging out where I am is a huge deal, where you hire the professional companies to come in and furnish the whole entire house so that it looks a little bit sexier in the listing and the photos and all of that. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm going to check it. I'm going to check into what you do.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you being a good sport with me, ambushing you on the questions. That was awesome. Okay, Oscar had a follow-up. How do you feel about e-exhibits and e-competitions? Yeah, I like them. I think competitions and giveaways, anything to get people to take action and whip up like a little marketing frenzy, I'm a huge fan of, and we use a bunch of those. Let's see, Tammy, I'm going to unmute you again and see if that fixes your mic situation. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You never know. And thank you for the kind words. I am. Your handle's I am, so I don't know what else you are. Did that fix it? Okay, maybe it didn't. I think. So, Tammy, you're asking about the celebrity images. I sort of need to know what context you're asking it. Are you painting celebrities, or are you you're photographing them. You sort of have to have the rights, and I'm assuming you were looking at the rock photographer guy that I was showing, Rob Shanahan. That guy's sort of an anomaly. He's got the rights to literally everything. All of those celebrities, he's maintained the rights throughout his entire life on them. So, impressive thing that he's got going on. It's a little bit of a Tammy. It's a little bit of a charcoal gray area. What do I mean by that? You can say absolutely not. I'm just not going to sell them. I don't have the rights. Or you could operate under the it's easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission framework. Okay. And if you started doing that and you started selling, what ends up happening, because we get multiple different iterations of this and happening, is you throw the stuff up in the store and sometimes nothing ever happens and you sell and you do fine. Or you could throw the stuff up in the store and what ends up happening is you'll get a takedown notice from a lawyer. And when that happens, then the party's over and you take it down. Rarely do I ever hear anyone, actually getting sued in any of those capacities. And we have a bunch of people that paint celebrities. We have a bunch of people that shoot celebrities. We have a bunch of people that shoot inside amusement parks, for instance, and they get away with it. So you sort of never know until you know. But my guess is that if you didn't have the rights for a particular celebrity and you were really successful, meaning selling hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's when they would come for you. They always come for you after there's like a huge pot of money. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't offer legal advice, but I do appreciate the easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission framework. I think there's a lot of merit in that early on because you just don't know until you know. And you get started and you start marketing and you make some headway, and then people are like, stop doing that. And then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, instead of sitting on the sideline for the last 2 years, I actually built up an audience and now I can sell them something else. Okay, fine. It can't be the celebrities, but it can be someone else, right? Jamie's asking, what if I don't have an email list or large following yet? Does your program have an approach to get momentum going in this area? Yes, the chicken and the egg problem. Yes, of course. We're solving for that all the time. We've got a bunch of hacky things that you start out with. But you know what's funny is that you come to realize in marketing, some people start with 0 on an email list, and some people start with 500,000 on an email list. And do you know what they have in common? Both of them are built one email at a time. One email at a time. That's it. So you just get starting, you just start executing on it, and you do what you do. That I've now come to the determination, Oscar, that you're outside of a coffee shop. So it's actually not your porch, but it took me a while to figure it out. I got it. So I finally saw the one woman carrying her coffee. I was like, you could see where, like, in my mind, I saw where Oscar was in the small thumbnail, and I'm like, that's a patio in the woods with a lake in the background. Somebody needs a vacation over here, okay? Somebody who's overworked and needs a vacation over here. I just projected that into my scenario. Okay, what else? Any final questions, guys? Was that you got one more? Oscar's thinking about it. Veronica, I don't know what she's doing. Ruth, I'm just picking on you guys because your cameras are on, but that's okay. That's okay. And I appreciate Veronica gave me the clappy hands. Thank you. Glad you guys enjoyed the session. That's what it's here for. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. And I would say, like, look, if you're just finding out about us, don't worry about it. You're doing your investigation, or if you're like the realtor's name, Jim, was it Jim or Keith? I can't remember. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. We're continuing to grow. We're going to continue to be awesome. But if you saw the pyramid and you're trying to figure things out and you're like, okay, I want the whole picture, go and get the demo, look at it, then make your call. But at least you have the two sides of the coin. What I explained, critically important, the pyramid, getting the business model, all those things. And then you can see how all the ways that our software makes your life easier and all the training and all the education that we do. That stuff in hand, you can make your call. What I would say, though, in terms of urgency, and again, I want everyone to win, okay? I'm running a contest next week on how to run a live art show, and there's an opportunity to win a membership. So that's an opportunity. I'll throw it out there. But do not, any of you, ignore what is behind me right now. This is the days until Q4 starts, okay? And I've been doing this a long time now. More art, especially in non-COVID times, is traditionally sold in the fourth quarter than the other three combined, okay? Why is that? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the holiday buying season, okay? And the difference between who is successful in selling in the fourth quarter and who is not is primarily dictated by the people that have their art on a website that takes credit card, that do a little bit of marketing and runs the sales, okay? And you can take that advice to the bank without my guidance. If you become a customer, obviously I'm going to teach you how to do all those things between now and then. But what I don't want you to do is sit it out. Do not sit it out. It is a marathon that is coming, which is Q4, okay? And if the marathon was Q4 and you knew you were running one on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, a little bit earlier because everyone keeps moving the sales up. If you were running that marathon, what would you start doing this weekend? You'd start going for little short runs to start getting in shape. What you wouldn't do if you wanted to be successful was show up to race day without training at all, right? What is the training? You have to do some marketing between now and then. I'm just telling you, though, based on what I'm seeing out there, based on the fact that this freaky Delta thing looks to be coming back, everyone's talking about lock-ins, Europe has terrible stats, it's probably going to happen again. And if it happens again, all it's going to do is continue to drive art and photography sales. Like, look, things happen in life, right? The pandemic for concerts, sporting events, hotels, restaurants, not so good. But for art and photography sales, the pandemic has just massively helped. So the difference between you guys having an incredibly successful fourth quarter and not is getting ready. You got 75 days, okay? You got to do marketing. You have to get your art up on a website, even if it's not ours. And you have to get ready for the holiday buying season, and it's going to be massive, okay? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, again, it gets moved up a little bit. It's going to be a big, big deal. So you'll see the emails that I'm sending, that the other people in my company are sending, all of the live broadcast I do. I'm going to continue to bang the drum. And again, what's so fun about this is, like, year 7 of me doing this, right? And all of my customers, we do this every single solitary year. This business doesn't really fundamentally change. Do you know what it is? Normal marketing, sale. Normal marketing, sale. Normal marketing, sale. Normal marketing, sale. The year ends, rinse and repeat, right? What are those sales? Mother's Day, Father's Day. You're a nature photographer. You do Earth Day. You come up with some creative reasons to have a flash sale here or there. But you want to know why I love the live art show? You don't need a reason. You can just decide on a whim to have one, right? It doesn't need to be married to Mother's Day or Father's Day or Black Friday or Cyber Monday or Christmas or New Year's or Hanukkah or whatever sale you have. And when I say fundamentally that the two metrics that dictate the success of an art or photography business, number 1, health and size of collector list. Number 2, how many sales that business has run a year. That's it. How many sales that business runs a year? And as a final, some people like to give me the pushback on that. Well, running sales as an artist or a photographer, I've been told that it cheapens my work. Do you know the only brands that I'm aware of that don't run sales, that don't discount? Louis Vuitton and Tiffany's. In a true form of irony, one just acquired the other. Louis Vuitton just bought Tiffany's. So now there's only one. Everyone else has sales, okay? Everyone else does discounts. You want to know why? Because human beings need incentive and scarcity to take action. The incentive is the discount. The scarcity is the fact that the sale is ending. So 75 days until Q4, guys. Big, 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 big deal. There's enough time now to get up, to get going, to get some marketing in the water, to let people you know exist, that when those couple weeks before Black Friday, Cyber Monday comes, you're not sitting there for the first time sending your first email, your first Facebook post, okay? You've got a shot to sell. This Q4 could be a huge one. I want you guys to be a part of it, whether it's with us or not, and I mean that genuinely. So, food for thought. Thanks, everybody, for popping on. Jim, you came on late. I don't know if you've got questions. You probably only saw a portion of the thing, huh? Okay, looks like Oscar's got a question. Oscar, I'm going to unmute Jim first just to make... Oh, no, you were on the whole thing. I think I remember your avatar. You just turned your camera on recently.
Yeah, I just turned my camera on. It took a while for it to connect.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, I'm new to this. I have experience with printing photos and stuff like that. All my life, I worked in the printing industry.
Got it.
You know, from the printing, the press, to publishing, to binding it, to shipping it, and everything else. So I'm very familiar with that aspect of it. And then I worked the last 14 years. I worked in the photo center at Walmart, and you were talking about copyrights. We continually had issues like that with copyright issues and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I'm very familiar with those kind of stuff. But there's also public domain. So if you're taking pictures within public area, then most copyrights don't even apply.
Yeah. It's you know, again, charcoal gray area, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen like all sorts of different variations and stuff popped up, like some areas where you think that person would get sued in 2 seconds, and not only do they not get sued, the copyrights holder is like, here's the dirty little secret. We want to encourage all of you because all it is free marketing for us, right? Like, we don't even care that you do it. So I've seen just about every instance of it. But the important thing is that you get started, whatever the heck you're doing, even if you're going to get slapped down later, like, get started, right? Because once you start marketing, the alternative is just sit on the sidelines contemplating and don't ever take a forward step. But yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Jim. All right. I can hear my kid running around and up to shenanigans. So that's my cue. Guys, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Q4 is coming. So get going on the marketing. Request a demo if you haven't, if you're interested. My outreach team is really cool. They'll answer all your questions, and I think you'll enjoy it. But other than that, have a great weekend, everybody, and hope to see you on the inside.